Okay, so you saw the title of the video. It is true, I'm about to be affianced. We went ring shopping back in June and we ended up custom designing a ring. I was just informed by Daniel that the ring has arrived as of last week. So the countdown has begun, and I thought it would be fun for us to just spend some time together and read a bunch of romance books and books about love and weddings since I'm in my lover girl era. I asked you guys on Instagram what some of your favorite romance books are, so I'm gonna go reserve a bunch of them for my library and see what comes in, and I will see you guys when we have started our first book. Okay, you guys sent in some really great recommendations. So I have some things on hold at the library, but my hold for Paladin's Faith just came in and I've been waiting for the audiobook for this one. I know this is annoying for the first book in this series to be book 4 in a series. So if you want to skip over my review of this, I have timestamps in the description. Skip to the next book, but I just could not help myself picking this up. So this is the Saint of Steel series. It's by T. Kingfisher. She's my favorite author. She writes everything from horror to romantic fantasy, and I love this series so much. The first book is called Paladin's Grace, and it's set in the same world as Swordheart and the Clockwork Boys. So if you like that world, it's set in the same world. There's some characters who make a reprise in this one. In this book, we are following one of our paladins, one of our love interests. He is a very self-conscious, not confident paladin berserker, and he's going to fall in love with Marguerite, who you may know from book 1 if you read book 1. I am about 30% of the way into this. I got about this far into it once before. I DNF'd because I had reread the entire series and I was just really sick of the paladins being apologetic furniture as they are described in this book. They just have that like big, strong man who's so attracted to this woman, but oh no, like she can't possibly be attracted to me and I can't possibly do anything about this. And it was just getting on my nerves a little bit. But after a few months of a break, I have been loving this. It really does feel so fun to be back in this world and back in this series. I'm gonna finish prepping for this party while I listen to the audiobook of this, which I highly recommend, by the way. It's narrated by Joel Richards, and he just does such an incredible job. His voice is perfect for the paladins. On that note, I will see you guys when I have finished this. I have book updates for you and I have relationship updates for you. Let's talk relationship first. So unfortunately, Dan lost his job this week, which is obviously not what we want to happen right before we get engaged and try to plan a wedding and do all of the expensive things that come along with all of that. The good news is we have savings, we'll be okay. He was planning on finding another job soon anyways. I would live with that man in a cardboard box, so I'm not super worried about this, but it is just another wrench in our plans. Let's talk about Paladin's Faith. I have finished it. It was so good. I loved everything about it. Our paladin, Shane, is so self-conscious about himself. He doesn't have a lot of self-confidence. He feels really looked over and feels like he's not good enough no matter what he does. Through this book, he has this really lovely character arc and journey that he goes on of realizing that Marguerite, his love interest, if she loves him truly, if she is the one for him, she is going to love him being 100% himself the most. And I absolutely love that message in here. I think that's a journey that Dan and I both went on individually before we met each other, as we were very much being 100% who we were when we started dating. I'm really proud of both of us for doing that work before we came together, because when we started dating, we were 100% ourselves and we were not putting on a show for the other person and trying to be who they wanted us to be. We were just kind of like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. And it was exactly what both of us wanted. Despite us not making a whole ton of sense on paper, he is absolutely so compatible with me on like a mental level. The way that our brains work and our values and the things that we want out of life are exactly the same. And I feel like ultimately that's kind of all that matters, because the rest is gonna grow and change as you grow and change as individuals, because a marriage is a long time. And the other thing I want to talk about in here is religion, because I credit this series and T. Kingfisher and also Becky Chambers with healing a lot of my religious trauma. I grew up Catholic and I am not religious anymore. It was my experience growing up that the people who were the most religious were also the people who were doing the most harm in my life. Like, I did not see any people who were religious, who were spreading love and who were trying to make the world a better place. And all the religious people that I knew were very much about shaming you for not doing what they wanted you to do and using that as a way to control. I'm so happy that this book and also Dan are really fantastic examples of people who are using their belief system to try to make the world a better place and to spread love and to be better people and better versions of themselves. It's so comforting to see the paladins in here, because it is tongue-in-cheek joking about the guilt that comes with religion, but it is also talking about the good that comes out of having an organization that is devoted to helping people. Just like the people in this book, Dan is the first religious person that I have met in my adult life who wants to be a better person and uses his belief system to be a better person and to spread love and to do good in the world. And although I don't think that I will ever be a religious person, it is really healing to have experienced that through my relationship and also through books like these. There's something about a religion that is so practical that most of its members are lawyers that just really puts a smile on my face. This book was fantastic. The fantasy plot in here was absolutely delectable. It had spies, it had court intrigue, it had a demonic cult, it had dirt that ate people. It was so good. It was so fast-paced and plot-forward. I felt so connected to all of our characters. We got to know 2 different paladins in here really, really well, and I really hope that we get Ren's story later on in the series as well. There was a cliffhanger at the end. I'm so excited to keep reading in this series. Okay, that is the first book. I have to head to work. It is Friday night, which is date night, which means I will see you guys tonight and we will get ready for the day. I don't think it's happening tonight. I definitely don't think it's happening tonight, especially because of everything with Dan losing his job. I would be so shocked if it happened tonight. But hey, anything could happen. So I'll see you tonight. We'll get ready just in case. And I'll tell you about the book we're reading next. I have finished work and I have selected our next book. It's going to be Sail Be Mine by Naina Kumar, and I am loving it. The narrator for this audiobook is also fantastic. We're getting a lot of fantastic narrators. I immediately recognized this audiobook narrator. She narrated The Bandit Queens and did a fantastic job on it. Her name is Sanila Nankani and she is so good. I absolutely love her narration style. In this book, we have some fake dating, which is one of my favorite tropes. So our 2 main characters are in a fake engagement. They're both Indian. They were set up by their parents. So their parents basically like made an introduction for them. This guy does not want to get engaged. He does not want to get married. And he's just kind of doing this for his mom because she wants him to. Our female love interest does want to get married. So she was open to this meeting when they first met. I will say the plot of this one is a little convenient. I'm not super convinced that our female main character has any reason to be fake dating this guy. She's hung up on an ex from college. They're best friends. She's like his best man for his wedding. She wants a date to the wedding. I don't really know why they have to be engaged for that, but I understand why the guy wants this because it's good for him at work and it's good for him in his family life. His mom is making him do a year of these meetings with these women and he's going on like 2 a week. And so it's a big stress for him, and his dad is also a lot. So I understand why he wants to be fake engaged. I don't really get why our female main character is going along with it because it doesn't really seem like she has a whole ton of need to do that. But now some drama has just happened with her best friend who is also engaged. So the plot has thickened. I'm along for the ride. I'm having a good time. And I don't really have much else to say beyond that. So let's get ready for date night. I feel like this dress is giving RuneScape a little bit too much, so I'm not gonna wear this on date night. Tonight we're going to a Mexican restaurant and then to Tubuck, which is a divey bar. So you know what I have been wanting to style is this is like a sheer floral top. I'm thinking that it actually might look cute under one of my dresses, so let's try that on. Honestly, can't tell if I love it or if I hate it. What do you think? Let me show you in the mirror. I think the lighting in here is a little bit better. I think it would be cute for going to the bar that we're going to, but I think it's probably a bit much for the restaurant we're going to. This is the other option, which I feel like couldn't be any more different, but we could edge it up for this bar with Doc Martens. Put a little black bow in my hair. We can see how we feel about that. Maybe I'll give Dan both options and he can choose what he would like. Hello, my loves. I had such a lovely time with Dan on Friday. That was such a nice night. And then the next day we hung out as well, and I went to Barnes & Noble and picked up our next book, which we're gonna read, which I'm so excited about. This is Just the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and it is taking everything in my power to not read this right now, but I am maybe halfway through our other book, so we still need to finish this. But while I was there, so I'm a premium member at Barnes & Noble. You're supposed to get like a tote bag, a free tote bag every year, but I never got mine. So I have this. How cute is it? It's got like a little pocket in here for your phone too. It's like really nice quality. I think this color is perfect for fall, so very excited about that. I am currently here to go return some shoes. These were potential wedding shoes. I really wanted these to work. Look how absolutely stunning gorgeous they are. But the bottom, the soles and the heel is black, and I really want it all to be white. They have them, I'll show you here, in a shorter heel, all in white. But to be honest with you, the thing that I love most about them is the thing that made them not work. Because it's quilted, it makes the shoe seem so much wider, and it just did not look flattering on my feet at all. So I am returning these, but I'm also gonna poke around the boots section because it's September 1st today, and I don't have any boots besides my Doc Martens. I would love to find a nice pair of fall boots if I can. But let me tell you about this book. It is annoying me right now. In fact, there's miscommunication tropes going on. There's a just one bed trope happening. But actually, our main character's friends are just not being nice to her at all. Like, she has this guy that she's hung up on and he sucks, and it's a very like one-sided friendship. He asks her for advice and she does so much for him and he's not providing anything back. Like, I get that with friendships, that sometimes someone's having a harder season of life than someone else and you really lean on them. I think that's totally fair and fine. But like, to have a friendship for so long that is not serving you anymore, and to have a new relationship partner come into your life who's able to like help you identify those things and be like, hey, like, when's the last time this person actually helped you out? And is that indicative of this entire friendship? And have you just been letting this person walk all over you a little bit? I think that is something I personally experienced in my relationship, is Dan was like, hey, is this person like actually someone that you want in your life? And I think a really good test of friendship is like, do I actually want this person at my wedding? Do I want to celebrate with them? Do I want them to witness my commitment to this person or not? And if not, is that really someone that I want to be pouring a lot of myself into? So insights to be gathered, but am I enjoying the book? I don't know. It's feeling like it's gonna be a 3-star right now, so we'll see. I'm just not getting the banter and the warm fuzzy feelings, and there's just a little bit too much drama going on. It's not feeling fun to me, and I want it to be fun. Honestly, all I want to do is read this. We shall hold off. Oh, needless to say, we are not engaged. It did not happen last night. I would like to hear bets in the comments if it's happening next weekend or the weekend after, because I feel like those are really the only two weekends it could happen, because it said it's happening sometime in September. We are moving 3 weeks from now, and we're gonna be attending our friend's wedding 4 weeks from now, and that's all the weeks in September. So it's either happening next weekend or the weekend after. So vote now in the comments when you think it's happening. I don't know, but I'm excited. Let's go return some shoes and look at some boots, and then we need to finish this book. Hello friends, the weekend is over. We are not engaged. We went to a lovely little apple orchard yesterday, which was so much fun, and I got to munch on some lovely apple cider donuts and pick my favorite apples, which is the Honeycrisp apple, so that was very exciting. I've also finished Say Will Be Mine, and I did not like it. I'm giving it 2 stars. And I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what I want to tell you about this book, because the whole point of me doing this was to obviously read some romance books and have a good time, but also try to glean some insights from them, reflect on my own relationship, talk about what makes a good relationship and what doesn't make a good relationship. And I am just really struggling to find any insights to glean from this book, because it is very much just like a 90s rom-com, and it is a little bit convenient and tropey, and you roll your eyes at it in the same way that you would a 90s rom-com, and it has its place for entertainment. It has things to say about being confident in your relationship, and it has things to say about how hard it is to realize that you are not your parents and you don't need to make the same mistakes that your parents interested, and that even though your parents' marriage was not a good situation doesn't mean that yours has to be that way. And I guess the feeling I'm left with after reading this book is how thankful I am and how lucky Dan and I are that we both have the same timelines in our heads about marriage, because we have not been dating for that long. We have been dating for like a year and 2 months at this point, 3 months if you count from the time we had our first date or when you count when we became boyfriend, girlfriend. But anyways, at our age, in our current society, that is not a long time to be dating someone before deciding that you want to spend the rest of your life with them. As we've had these conversations and talked to friends about it, we've been getting a lot of mixed reactions. Although we are so sure that this is going to work out, not because I think that my life could never be complete without Daniel, but more that I trust both of us to choose each other every single day and to be a good partner to each other, even if life is not going super great for us or we are not great versions of ourselves in that moment. I trust our communication. I trust our I trust our respect that we have for each other. Even when we go through hard things, we tackle them as a team and we're not trying to go about them to get something out of it for ourselves. We're trying to solve problems with what is best for us as a unit together. And I was really thankful to grow up with parents who had a really great marriage. And so I was able to see growing up how a healthy marriage looks and how that works. And I know that that is not everyone's situation. And one of our characters in this book, Karthik, our male love interest, his parents do not have a good relationship. And his parents' relationship does not survive this book. And he's really struggling with that. And that's why he doesn't want to get married, is because he doesn't want to become his dad and he doesn't want to enter into marriage because of how he saw his parents' relationship looking, which I think is a really hard thing to work through. So that's the kernel of wisdom I picked out of this. I don't think the writing was bad. I loved the audiobook narrator, like I mentioned before. This was a debut and I might even pick up another novel from this author in the future, but this one was just, it didn't work for me. I just cannot imagine being this far into a relationship and not knowing all those things about your partner or hiding something from them or even thinking about smooching somebody else. There's some infidelity that goes on in this book. And I'm very thankful that Dan and I are both Aquariuses, and so we talked each other's ears off about anything and everything that you could possibly think of in a relationship and in a marriage and having a family together, because we love daydreaming about the future and we love overthinking and over talking about things, frankly. And sometimes those conversations suck to have and you're gonna come at things from two different angles because you're two different people with two different experiences. But ultimately, I am so thankful that we have had so many of those conversations, because I really truly feel like I know the answers to a lot of questions that are gonna make our lives easier. And I know how we discuss things and I know how we argue. And I know that we're never gonna raise our voices at each other or disrespect each other, even when it seems like we cannot find a compromise, because we're in this as a team and not trying to win our side of the argument. And that makes me very thankful for my relationship. Okay, I will see you guys when I have started our next book. I'm spiraling. Let me give you a little play-by-play of how yesterday went, because I did not talk to you. I worked a full day. I had lunch with Dan, which was so nice. He got to meet the CEO of my company, who he hadn't met before. I was really looking forward to meeting him, so that was really sweet. While I'm driving home, Dan texts me this, telling me the proposal is not going to be happening until October. So then I was like, oh no, this sucks. I hate surprises. I don't like them. I don't like a bunch of people looking at me and expecting me to behave in a specific way. I would rather know that something's happening, get excited about it, be able to plan for it, be able to think about it, be able to sit with it, instead of things just like happening. You know, things happen, surprise, all the time. Life gives us enough surprises. I don't need people to plan them for me. The other thing that's important to understand in this, like you tell me in the comments if you think I'm wrong, but I feel like I could be a chill person about this if we weren't leaving the country in November, because we do not have that much time to get things done. And really the thing that I'm a little worried about is getting a wedding dress, because they take 6 to 8 months to arrive. And I don't know how long it's gonna take me to find one. I would really like to go shopping with my mother. She does not live in this state, so it's just like, I don't know, there's a lot of complicated logistics that are happening. Once we leave in November, we're not coming back to the United States. And if we do come back, we're only coming back once to do like alterations. I think there's some stuff we have to work out with the church as well, but we will not be coming back to the US because it's really hard to get there because of where we're gonna be in Costa Rica. So logistically, the fact that we're leaving the country makes it very, very difficult for me to be chill and just like let this happen when it happens. Which is why we narrowed it down to kind of like a 2-week time period that it can happen in. So then when Dan said it wasn't happening until October, I started panicking about all the things that needed to be done because I've been like not doing anything until we get engaged because I thought we had enough time to do everything after, but I was like, oh, if it's not happening until October, then maybe I do need to like book some wedding dress appointments and like fly my mom up here and whatever. But turns out he was just pranking me because he wanted it to be a surprise. So he called me and he was like, Katie, I'm pranking you. I wanted it to be a surprise. It's still happening when it's gonna happen. And I was like, okay. And then when I got home, I had locked myself out of my house so that I had to drive half an hour back to go see Dan again, which was lovely. I loved seeing him. But it was just one of those days. So I drove back. He was at a coffee shop. So I got to work with him at a coffee shop for the rest of the day, which was lovely. And then I drove half an hour back. I was a little bit stressed, but everything's okay now. I've also started a new book, which is Something Wilder. I've not started reading just for the summer yet because I need an audiobook. And last night when I came home, I needed a walk to decompress. So I started reading this. I'm loving it. It's so fun. It's so nice. We're on a little treasure hunt in the desert. We have horses. It's very exciting. It's a second chance romance. So our two main characters were dating like 10 years ago. They were like each other's first love. And then now they have just met for the first time. And there's like some unsureness about how that ended. And they're gonna fall back in love and try to save this girl's ranch. I don't know. It's exciting. I'm having a lovely time so far. I'll tell you more about it when I'm a little bit more into it. I just finished work and I was sitting here about to have my cup of tea and my apple cider donut, and I received a phone call from my mother, which makes me think that the proposal is happening this weekend. And now that I'm thinking about a conversation I had with Daniel yesterday, I'm thinking it's happening on Saturday. So that is my prediction for you all. Either my mother and Daniel are very good at tricking me, or I feel like that's what's happening. And now I'm kind of freaking out a little bit because I really didn't think it was gonna be this weekend. This weekend coming up, nothing is planned. The next weekend, nothing is planned. The weekend after that, we are moving. My mother has been very stressed about my move. More stressed than I am, I think. So she offered to come up and visit me and help me pack. And I was on the phone and she was like, so would it work? Can I come in like Thursday night and then we hang out and pack after you're done work on Friday and then also on Saturday? And I was like, yes, except that is one of 2 weekends that Dan is most likely going to be proposing, so you have to talk to him about this and make sure that's gonna work. And she, I don't know, I've known my mother for 25 years and I feel like I can know when she's trying to be nonchalant about something, and I think I clocked it. I feel like she's already talked to him. I feel like she knows when it's happening and she knows that she won't, or she knows that it's happening on Saturday. Because originally I had told Dan that it would be nice to have my parents here for it, so he could just let them know when it was happening, and if they could, if it worked for their schedules, I'd love to have them come up and we can like have a little engagement party with them. But he said that they weren't available because my dad's gonna be on a work trip, but my mom is available. So either this is her trying to be sneaky about it and figure out a way to get here for the engagement party that's happening next week, but I feel like that would just be weird logistically. And I told her, I was like, if Dan has something planned for the proposal, like we're not just gonna leave you in my house, like that would be so weird. I feel like it would also be odd to like go on a fancy date and get engaged with my mom there. I don't know. And he also told me that he's gonna take me to a vineyard this weekend. Wouldn't that be a beautiful place to get engaged? That's my update. I'm very excited. I love this man. I've known I wanted to marry this man since like our second date. Like I remember sitting in Shake Shack with my friend Trista. She had been gone for like a month when we started dating, and she came back and I was like, we have to debrief. And I sat down and I was like, I'm gonna marry that man. And she was like, okay. And now it's happening and I'm gonna cry. Okay, I'm very excited. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go on a super long walk and read Something Wilder to take my mind off of this because I'm too excited. I'm just gonna like sit here and like vibrate. So I'll see you guys later. I went on a very lovely walk. We have finished Something Wilder. I also no longer think the proposal is happening this weekend because I just called Dan to try to figure out plans for the weekend, and he said that the vineyard is not happening tomorrow. It's happening next week. And I feel like that means that it is happening next week. My friend also texted me and asked me if I wanted to hang out tonight, which she probably wouldn't unless she was pranking me if she knew that it was happening tonight. So I think it's happening next weekend, which means that my mother and Dan need to talk because she's trying to come visit that weekend. I'm not really sure how that's gonna work logistically, but let's talk about something wilder because I really enjoyed it. It starts out very cozy and sweet. Our main character Lily has this like dude ranch situation where she takes people out on the outlaw trail, which is like the trail all these bank robbers use, like Butch Cassidy and everything. And her dad was obsessed with treasure hunting and trying to find Butch Cassidy's treasure. She now sets up like fake treasure hunting clues and stuff and puts people through like archery practice, and they're on horses. It's like a really fun thing. So it's usually like executives and people who come in with a lot of money who want to have a little bit of fun, hang out with some horses, do this dude ranch thing, and it's a really sweet business that she has. She's over it. She just wants to go back to her ranch though, except her dad sold her ranch, and so she has been trying to make ends meet, really wants to be able to buy the ranch back, but she doesn't have the money to do so. And one of the people who comes along on this journey on her latest dude ranch situation is this guy that she was in love with 10 years. And one of the people who comes on this trek is the guy she fell in love with 10 years ago. So obviously they're gonna fall back in love and live happily ever after. So chaos ensues. They do have an adult conversation about it quite early, which is good because I would have been very aggravated if the miscommunication vibes had continued for longer than they did. But they cleared the air. They were adults about it. They figured it out. They said what they were feeling. They got it figured out. But then the book goes off the rails. Things happen. People are held up at gunpoint. There is a conspiracy afoot. We go on a very different journey than I was expecting us to go on. But I did have a really good time. I liked the way that everything ended up. It was a little steamier than I was expecting it to be, but I did enjoy it. Here's what I'll say about this one. I love a second chance romance because there's so much history there, and you can really see that these people love and know each other really, really well. I feel like in the rest of the books that we've read for this video, I haven't really felt that our two main characters are the ones for each other, like fully and completely, and I definitely felt that in this book, and that's giving me nice warm fuzzies because I'm so sure about Dan. Obviously, I want to marry him, and it's really, really nice to kind of see that on page because it's kind of cringy to talk about like how much you love your significant other all the time, even though it's all I want to do. So it's nice to read a romance book in which I can watch these people just like gush about how much they love each other and how much they're willing to sacrifice for each other, because it's people from very different backgrounds and they live in different places, and it's not easy for them to be together. And if you looked at Dan and I on paper, I think you wouldn't think that we would work. When I met Dan, I absolutely did not want to have kids, and I am very much not religious. He's very religious and very much wants as many children as he can have. And because of those things, and because we grew up very differently from each other, I'm extremely introverted, he's extremely extroverted. On paper, we do not seem that similar, but just like our characters in Something Wilder, that emotional, mental connection is so, so strong. And the way that we communicate and know each other and sacrifice for each other is really beautiful. And that's what I have to say about this book. It gave me warm, fuzzy feelings. I love a treasure hunt. Dan and I love treasure hunts. We got super sick on our 1-year anniversary vacation to the Dominican Republic and watched every treasure hunting movie we could find. We watched Uncharted, The Lost City, and all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. So that was also incredibly enjoyable to see. Okay, it is Friday, it's date night. I don't think it's happening tonight, but we will once again get ready together and we'll see what Dan has planned. I have just finished work. It's time for us to get ready. My hair is so frizzy today. Dan is taking me out to Barcelona Wine Bar, apparently, which is a very nice restaurant and the place where he told me he loved me for the first time. So that's very cute. I'm gonna try to tame some of the frizz in my hair. I want to keep my natural curls because they look nice today, but I would just like the top of this to be a little bit smoother. I've actually started reading 2 different books. The first is, finally, just for the summer, I got 100 pages into this without even trying. It is so incredible and so good. I thought this was gonna be good, but it's so much better than I had ever imagined because we do have this fun like Reddit post situation, Emma the Asshole post, that kicks everything off because our male love interest, Justin, has posted on Reddit saying that he has this curse. So everyone that he dates, after they break up with him, they go on to find their soulmate and they marry that person. And the last time this happened, the person that girl fell in love with was his roommate. and that means that he broke the lease because he wanted to move in with this girl. And now Justin had to move into this like tiny little studio apartment that has a view of a toilet billboard, which is hilarious. And he got a little rescue dog that he thinks is really ugly, and here's the little the little puppy, and named it after his roommate. And now this girl and his friend's mom are mad at him for naming the dog after his roommate Brad. He makes an Am I the Asshole post asking about it. Of course it goes viral because of this curse, and this girl finds it and DMs the guy because she has the same curse. Obviously now Emma and Justin are gonna fall in love, but the setup is that they're gonna date each other so that when they break up, then they will inevitably go and find their soulmates. But obviously they're gonna fall in love with each other instead. But the reason why I am absolutely loving this is because it's set in Minnesota, and I grew up in Minnesota. Emma is a travel nurse, so she's not in Minnesota. I so desperately want to show Dan Minnesota so bad because it is so beautiful and so gorgeous. And you can tell that Abby Jimenez is from Minnesota because she knows exactly that feeling when anyone hears anything about Minnesota. They're like, oh, isn't it really cold there? Like, yes, the winters do suck, but the summers are just perfect. And it's so nice to see, like, they're actually dropping names of lakes and parks and places that I have been to that I love and cherish from my childhood. And so it's so cool. I'm having such a good time. They are staying on a little cottage on Lake Minnetonka, which is like the rich people lake. I grew up on Prior Lake, which has $1 million houses in Prior Lake, don't get me wrong, but Lake Minnetonka houses, that's where like the Vikings players and the Minnesota celebrities have houses on Lake Minnetonka. So they're renting like a guest cottage from someone who has this super big mansion on Lake Minnetonka. What do you guys think? I feel like the curls are fine. I feel like it was just the top that needed some fixing. I think I'm happy with that. The banter has been so good from page 1, and they're just like texting and calling and FaceTiming and stuff, and I'm so excited for them to meet. I just love it. I'm just so excited about it. I think the rest of my makeup is pretty intact from this morning when I did it for work. So I think I'm just gonna let all of that be. Maybe I'll put a little bit more powder on to get a little shiny. The other book I have started is Funny You Should Ask because, of course, I need an audiobook to listen to. This is kind of like a celebrity thing. So our female main character is a reporter, and she's doing this report on this guy who was like the next James Bond, but like nobody really wanted him to be the James Bond because he's American, and I don't know, they think he's too dumb to do it or something. He's not sophisticated enough. So they had an interview 10 years ago when he was the new Bond to try to like fix his reputation, and then that article that she wrote about it really helped to like catapult his career, and that role helped to catapult his career, and that article also really helped her in her career. And so now 10 years later they're doing it again, and they're like trying to recreate that moment. So she's gonna interview him again. I don't know, I literally just started it. My boss has just slacked me, so it looks like I need to go fix one thing before we can finish doing this, but let me go handle this and then we'll pick our outfit for tonight. The weekend is over. We did not get engaged. I lost a nail. I was anxiously picking at them just a minute ago, and it came off, the most important one, so it's time to change them out. Before we do that, recap of the weekend. It was amazing. Dan took me to Barcelona Wine Bar, which is the restaurant that he told me he loved me at. He wrote me a letter to tell me that he loved me for the first time, and it was the most sweet, kind, romantic thing anyone has ever done for me. And I didn't think it was going to happen this weekend, but he put together a really sweet and thoughtful date, and it would have been like the perfect proposal date anyways. So I feel so lucky that I'm gonna get 2 really perfect dates, because after we ate at Barcelona Wine Bar, we went to Rosie's, which is a beautiful little rose garden. It is truly one of the most gorgeous places. We actually witnessed a proposal there once, and it's where Dan asked me to be his girlfriend, so that also holds some significance for us. And then afterwards we went to Burial, which was we love because they play punk and metal music. So we had a really, really lovely time. And then on Sunday, I finished just for the summer. We went to the park and had a little picnic, got some sandwiches, just kind of laid on the lawn and hung out with some ducks and finished my book. And I did absolutely sob while I was finishing this book, and then this sweet man came up and asked us if we wanted to register to vote, which is great because I am registered to vote, but my address is changing because I am moving in with Dan, so that was really good. I could cancel my old registration and register to vote there because that's where I will be in November, so that was good. So now I can vote, which is very exciting. But I finished this. I cried, like maybe from like here on, I was just crying like every chapter. This book really did it for me. I'm giving it 5 stars. I feel like it's not like the lighthearted rom-com vibes that I kind of expected going in. This hit a lot harder than I was expecting it to, and I should have known with Abby Jimenez because she does that in her books. But this was just incredible, and I really loved how there wasn't like a miscommunication trope. The conflicts that are going on between our 2 characters in here are like real life conflicts, and I feel like it's not often that we see that. I feel like usually in romance books we get this like perfect relationship, they're perfect for each other, or they like hate each other to start with and then they fall in love, or it's tropey at the beginning, but then once they're together, they're like together, and then maybe they have this like weird third act conflict because they don't have an adult conversation with each other. Turns out everything's fine and they just kind of move on. But in here, like there are things that get in the way of this relationship, and they're serious things and they're things that need to be worked through, and they are like real life situations. And I just found that to be so refreshing and so good. I'm also on my period, so I am crying all the time right now, so my apologies. I cried this morning, which we'll get to in a second. I cried yesterday reading this. I'm a little bit of a mess, but I love this, and it genuinely was really comforting and refreshing to see like a real relationship and people trying to do their best for each other and needing to work on themselves to be the best version of themselves for each other. And it was also really domestic in a really sweet way because Justin is taking care of his younger siblings, and the youngest one is like 4 years old, so she's really little, and the oldest one is 12. So it was kind of like getting to see a version of the future in which Dan and I have kids and we're taking care of our kids together, and it was just like really sweet and domestic. And I cried big fat wet tears because it was Emma's birthday and Justin like made her pancakes and the kids like sung her happy birthday, and I was just sobbing like thinking about that happening in my life. So I'm officially a sucker, and that was really, really sweet. I am also having a little bit of a freak out about this proposal, and I thought about not sharing this with you guys, but I want to share this with you guys because I feel like I haven't heard anyone else talk about feeling this way, and I don't think I'm an island. I don't think I have an original thought ever in my life, so maybe someone else is feeling like this or might feel like this one day in the future, and I can help to let you know that you're not alone. I hate surprises. I'm trying to get better at it, but I don't like them. But what I really hate more than that is like people lying to me and trying to convince me that I am being a bad person for trying to figure something out, or telling me that I'm ruining something by like trying to ask for what I need, and I'm getting a lot of those feelings right now. I talked to Dan. I feel a million times better than I did this morning. Everything is fine and good, and I'm so happy I'm marrying that man because he immediately knew what was wrong and is so good at reassuring me and helping me to feel better. But I had like a conversation with my mom, and I love my mother so much, but she's got it in her head that I cannot know anything about this proposal and I cannot know when it's happening, and she's already like upset that I kind of know what weekend it's happening. And because I'm moving soon, she had this idea to come and help me move. But because I'm pretty sure the proposal is happening this weekend, I was asking her if she wanted to wait and come another weekend, because I was just thinking about like having this really big moment happen in Dan and I's life that's so meaningful and important to us, and then also having like my mom stay in my house and having to host her, and it just was feeling like I was gonna do a bad job at both things. And look, this is what I asked Dan to do. Like I had originally told him that it would be really nice if he could reach out to my parents. I have some long distance friends. I asked him to invite them to come into town and we could do like an engagement party right after we get engaged. I think honestly it took my mom saying, hey, like I'm gonna be there this weekend staying with you, I need to book my flights. Like, then I realized that like I do not want to be hosting people and having everyone like look at me and like needing to react a certain way and having to like perform my love for other people, like I immediately freaked out and I was just like, I don't want this. I don't want this at all. I just want like a private romantic moment for Dan and I to like enjoy this moment of commitment and love and taking this next step in our relationship. And I just want it to be for us. I just want to feel warm and safe and cozy with him for a little bit before we let the rest of the world in on it. Anyways, I had this realization while I was trying to help my mom figure out her flights. She ended up making it so much worse by telling me that I shouldn't talk to Dan about this and that I was trying to figure things out and I should not try to figure things out and I should stop trying to control everything and I was ruining it or whatever. But I talked to Dan. He agrees with me. Everything's gonna be cool and fine. We'll get engaged. We'll have an engagement party a week or two after, and that's gonna be that. So today I'm very grateful that I'm marrying Dan and not my mother, because that conversation really didn't need to go that way. And I love her a lot, but that made everything so much worse. So I just wanted to share that little piece of information with you guys. Maybe that helps somebody. I love this. I think we have time for one more book. So I did start reading Funny You Should Ask. I think that's gonna be the last one that we have time for because things are happening very quickly, which is very exciting. So I think tonight probably what we'll do is we'll start packing because I really need to get on that. So I will see you lovely people when we have either finished the book or we're getting ready for our date to get engaged. I finished reading Funny You Should Ask and I have thoughts and feelings about this. First of all, it doesn't really feel like a romance for most of the book. It's this really interesting conversation about celebrity and fame, and Connie has this opportunity to interview this really big celebrity, this guy who's about to be this really big celebrity, and this interview has changed both of their lives so much, and we're getting to see, kind of like in Something Wilder, 10 years after the fact, this weekend that ended up changing so much of their lives and this connection between them that has some unfinished business going on. It's definitely not my favorite romance that I've ever read, but it was a really interesting book to read. I think if you're a fan of Daisy Jones and the Six, you'd probably get a lot out of this because it does have that similar conversation about fame and celebrity and substance abuse and kind of a weird love triangle, but it still has that like happily ever after that you get out of a romance. So that's why I'd recommend this too. If you read Daisy Jones and the Six and you wanted it to be more of a romance happily ever after, I think you're gonna love this book. Personally for me, it wasn't my favorite, and I don't really know how to explain why it wasn't without spoiling some things. I just never really felt super connected to our characters and their relationship. It felt kind of parasocial in a way because Khani is a writer, and so Gabe has been reading her blog and reading her writing and reading that version of herself that she chooses to put on the internet, and he feels like he knows her really, really well because of that. And like, yes, he does do things that let us know that he does know some things about her because of that, but it just felt like he thought that he knew everything about her. And like, that's just such a small portion of your life that you put on the internet. Like, I was just thinking about how Dan would interact with me if all he saw was the YouTube videos that I put out. It was just very strange. And that's actually Dan coming in my house now to pick me up for a date. So let me finish telling you about this. Tomorrow, we're going to our friend's engagement party tonight, and then I think tomorrow the proposal's happening. So we'll get ready for that together and I'll finish telling you about this. Good morning. Let's get ready to get engaged. I could not sleep at all last night. I had 2 stress dreams. And I still need to tell you guys about Funny You Should Ask. I think the point that I was trying to make before Dan got here and I got too excited to see him was that it felt like our characters felt like they knew each other really well because our female main character, Khani, had really followed Gabe's career and had seen that side of him and vice versa. I don't know, I was thinking about like if Dan had only known me from my YouTube video, like he would not know who I am. I share a lot with you guys and I feel like you guys get to see a lot of me, but like as a romantic partner, that's not enough. Anyways, I thought it was enjoyable to read and it was an enjoyable book. I just didn't find the romance aspect of it to be super compelling. I did love all of our characters. I love the dog. I love a dog in a romance. Gabe has a friend who is incredible. I really loved his inclusion in the story and he kind of develops his friendship with Connie as well, so that was really cool. And yeah, overall I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars. It was fine. It's not my favorite thing I've ever read, but it was never a chore to pick up. And now we must get ready. I'm actually gonna turn the camera off and focus my makeup because I feel like I'm gonna mess this up if I try to talk to you while I'm doing it, and then we'll get dressed together. Okay, I'm ready. What do we think? I don't know. really what's going on with my eyebrows, but the rest of it I think I'm happy with. It feels weird to put on a full face of makeup at 9 in the morning, but we do what we gotta do. This is what I'm gonna wear. I ended up impulse purchasing something last minute. It's just so stunning and I feel like it's very me, which is very exciting. And if you guys remember those boots that I tried on at DSW, I went back and got them and they were only $35. They were like 60 or 70% off and I had a coupon, so I'm very happy that I went back for them. Okay, I'm gonna get dressed. I'll show you the final look. Okay, here it is. What do we think? I have the earrings that Dan got me on our anniversary and the dress. Let me see if I can find an angle where you can see my boots. And the boots. I'm excited. Hi, fiance.
Hey, fiance.
We got engaged. You want to tell them how you did it?
Sure. So going into it, I knew that she wanted some place that was pretty and also not a ton of people and like kind of outdoors. So I was about to do it to a park, and then one of my friends recommended a vineyard that's outside of town, and I called them up and they said we could come in early before anyone came. Got a photographer and we rolled on up and it turned out to be really pretty. Never been to a vineyard before, so.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, and then I got down on my knee and asked you to marry me.
So this video is me reading a bunch of romance books and like kind of talking about what makes a good relationship. So some of the things that I've said I think make us really ready for this step is how many conversations we've had about what we want our lives to look like and what we need from each other, and what things do you think make us good for each other?
Yeah, I think we did that really well. And I think we're reaping the rewards of it, where maybe 6 months in we had some hard conversations that a lot of people avoided for understandable reasons, and now it's like we totally get each other and there's not much else to figure out, at least as far as we know from right now, right? One thing that stands out is that we're both pretty silly. I like being silly.
I feel like that's so underrated. Like, being silly together helps everything so much. Like, you guys don't get to see this, but it just like makes it so much easier to sacrifice for each other and do anything to make the other person laugh when so much of our time is giggling and being stupid.
Yeah, you just remember that things aren't that deep. Yeah, so we get along well and have a lot of fun. I think we admire each other. I definitely admire you and respect you.
I think also like our willingness to change our minds based on something that the other person said.
Yeah.
Huge. Because I think we both have very strong opinions about things, but we're also always open to like intaking new information and changing our minds about things.
Exactly, yeah, both of us. And I respect you enough where like you'll say something and like my trigger reaction will be like, that's wild, or like that's not how it is, and I'll be like, well, I respect her, so let me think about it for a minute. And when you think about it for a minute, you're like, oh, I get it.
Can't wait to be your wife.
Yeah.
Alright, on that note, I will see you all next week. Bye.
See ya.